Hello, and welcome to this week's edition of the Weekly Word. You enjoying Lent? For those of you that are participating in Lent, I hope you are having a good time. I think for me, Lent is just always that time where I just see my an opportunity for me to elevate my spiritual needs over my fleshly desires. And we in our newsletter this week we introduced it by talking about Lent as a season of discipline and denial. And, I couldn't agree more. But we're not going to be talking about the fasting discipline liturgy or however we want to see it in today's newsletter. What we want to talk about is the subject of lawful versus expedient. So the title is Lawful but Not Expedient. And our core text this week is taken from 1 Corinthians 10:23, where it says, All things are lawful for me, but not all things are expedient. All things are lawful for me, but not all things edify. And I believe this was a time where they were having a lot of questions in the Corinthian church. Should we eat this? Should we eat that? We're saved by grace. We know that, whatever we do, God has, covered us and He has released us from the bondage of activities and the law. And Paul was now sharing this with them that yes, you might not have any issues doing it, but hey, it might not be the expedient thing to do here. In fact, I love the message paraphrase. So let me read it to you. And you know how the message is. So you're going to get two verses instead of one. So 1 Corinthians 10 from verse 23 to 24 in the message paraphrase says, looking at it one way, you could say anything goes because of God's immense generosity and grace. We don't have to dissect and scrutinize every action to see if it will pass muster. But the point is not to just get by. We want to live well. But our foremost efforts should be to help others live well too. So here, where it's talking about lawful and experience, it was saying here that yes, we have the grace of God. And yes, some of these things are okay, but sometimes they're not the expedient thing to do. Now, if I look at it in layman terms and I think of things that are expedient or not expedient, I think about it in terms of timing. I think about it in terms of purposeful. I think about it in terms of God intended for now. And we looked again in this newsletter about when Jesus had fasted. He had denied his flesh for a season of 40 days before he launched his earthly ministry. And we're told in verse 3 of Matthew chapter 4 that when the tempter came to him, he said, If you are the Son of God, command these stones to become bread. Can Jesus do that? Of course he can. He can tell stones to become bread. He turned water into wine. He multiplied 5 loaves and 2 fishes into enough to feed 5,000 people and even have extra. So he had the ability to do that. But it was not expedient because it was not in line with God's purpose for him and God's dictate for him. So Jesus responded appropriately by saying in verse 4, Man will not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceeds from the mouth of God. And I believe that that gives us an inkling into how we can be able to live expedient rather than living just by the law. This connection and this determination to embed and be instructed and live solely by the word of God, not the static word of God, but what he's sharing with us every time. A long time ago, I heard John Bevere preach a powerful message, or was it a book? And I remember it was Good or God. And he was also sharing along these lines that sometimes things are good, but not all the time they are God, and that we should learn to choose and embrace the God over the good. And again, going back to where we started about Lent, you know, is it a godly thing for us to deny our flesh and also draw near to God in spirit? Yes, I certainly believe that it is. And so I encourage us that even denial as it points to true worship, as we have in Romans 12:2, to choose this season as a time where we can really, really be one with God and His Word and live a life that is marked with expedience. Now, if you're not subscribed to our newsletter and you would like to receive this, maybe somebody has forwarded this to you, you can send an email to prayerbootcamp@oasisfoundation.org. Or if you're watching this on YouTube, be sure to just hit the subscribe button and we'll keep you abreast of further news that we have, as well as all the activities that we have all through the week. I hope you have a fantastic week and see you next time. God bless you.